Hey guys, happy Tuesday and welcome to Lawyering Outside the Lines. Brooke and Laura here. And for the month of June, we spent a lot of time talking about tech tools. And for the month of July, we are going to be talking about how we, as members of the legal profession, can support and promote diversity and inclusion. But first, we want to take a minute and kind of define what diversity and inclusion is. So when we're referring to diversity, when people talk about diversity, they're talking about the unique traits and characteristics of the actual individual. And when we're talking about inclusion, we're actually talking about the behaviors and the policies that are in place that make all people feel welcome, generally, but specifically in the workplace. And so there are many ways to foster a diverse workplace. So there's cultural diversity, racial diversity, religious diversity, age diversity, gender diversity, sexual orientation, disability, etc. So this month we're gonna, pick a topic and kind of talk about that because there's so much we could talk about on each one of them. We can't even fit it into our Lawyering Outside of the Lines show, but we're going to try. So today we're focusing on gender diversity specifically. Laura and I are very passionate about women in the profession. We speak on it pretty regularly. The legal profession specifically is still really considered a male-dominated field, and it's been designed in such a way that women often struggle to stay meaningfully involved in the profession or end up leaving altogether. And so we're going to give you some context into this issue and some ways that we can all change this narrative, whether you are, you identify as a woman or you're looking for ways to support women.
Exactly. It's a timely subject for many reasons. And so we want to, kind of put our 2 cents in this month and offer some solutions and some possible paths. So first thing we're going to talk about is the phrase, "it's a man's world," is really a societal mindset that tends to permeate across all industries. But why is that? And there are a number of reasons why this is so. There are political reasons. Spiritual fear is a big one. I think fear drives a lot of discrimination and oppression in this world. Ignorance, so not a happy word, but it's a real word as to why this is, "it's a man's world" is so prevalent. Pride is another one. It's a cyclical thing. So, we talk about systemic and cyclical discrimination against people of color. And it's the same kind of thing when you're talking about, I don't want to say it's the same exact thing, but it's the same kind of cycle of the discrimination and oppression with women, where it's just always been this way and it's always going to be this way kind of mindset. Bias is a big one, and economic advantage. So until we get paid the same for the same exact thing, then we're always going to be at an economical disadvantage to our male counterparts. Second thing we're going to talk about is more kind of in the idea of that cycle. And oftentimes it is a cyclical, it's a cycle, and men hire men because they relate to one another. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the idea that like goes to like, because if we're comfortable, if we understand, if we might have some, perceptions of the other person's background based on the fact that they're a man, a woman, whatever we identify with as a similar trait, it's not necessarily a wrong thing. It's just that we have to break out of that and go out of that cycle in order to create more diversity and inclusion. Psychologist Don Byrne was one of the first people to study the impact of similarity on the early stages of relationships. To do so, he developed a method known as the phantom stranger technique. In this research, it was hypothesized and confirmed a stranger who is known to have attitudes similar to those of the subject is better liked than a stranger with attitudes dissimilar to those of the subject. And that person who is similar is automatically judged to be more intelligent, better informed, more moral, better adjusted, all the good things about those opinions that you form with somebody versus the bad things. One implication of forming relationships with others on the basis of shared traits and qualities is that we really end up less diverse and with less opportunities for growth. If you're always around the exact same type of person, then how are you ever going to grow and understand the world as a whole?
Absolutely. And the next thing that I'm going to say is just kind of calling us out for ourselves. So women, we are standing in our own way. There is such thing as the queen bee syndrome. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but essentially what it is, it describes a woman who is in a position of authority, who views or treats subordinates more critically if they are female. And so, generally are women just awful people? No, that is not true. So, why does this end up happening in the workplace? So, there's really only ever been 1 or 2 seats at the leadership table for women in, most businesses and most, law firms, partnership level, whatever. So, we want that seat. So that often comes with the sacrifice of other women, because we look at that and think there's one spot for a woman there. I want that spot. So instead of trying to take out our male counterparts, we are pitted against one another just by design. And so we are here to say today that our success as women is not, and your success, they're not mutually exclusive. We can all be successful at the same time, and we can help each other get there. And we understand one another. Women also struggle to navigate mixing some of that personal and business relationships and even responsibilities in the workplace. And like I mentioned earlier, that's why women leave the profession or, really struggle to find their place and end up, dissatisfied in their legal careers. But the stats don't support these circumstances at all. So we just wanted to let you know, here's the power that we as women actually hold. So women make up about 47% of the U.S. workforce. Women direct 85% of consumer spending. 85% is us. Women control $7 trillion in investable assets. Women have also earned more bachelor degrees than men since 1982. I was born in 1982. The whole time I've been alive, women have been earning more bachelor degrees. Women have also earned more master's degrees since 87, and women have earned more doctorate degrees since 2006. And in 2015, just 5 years ago, 48% of law degrees were actually earned by women, even though that is not necessarily reflected in your traditional law firm setting. So, we can actually shift this paradigm by helping each other and changing from within, but also forcing change down from the top at the same time. But either way we go, we do not need permission from a man, from other women, from anyone to actually push forward in this effort.
Exactly. It's permission is sometimes a dangerous thing. If we're waiting for it, it's not going to happen. And that's true with pretty much anybody who is, or any type of person who is being oppressed in some way or kept out in some way. If you keep waiting for permission, then it's not necessarily going to be a quick change for sure. Next thing we're going to talk about is what can women do to effectuate that change? And really it takes a lot of reflecting with ourselves and talking to other people. We've got to start discussing and examining and debating how and why the issues that we've talked about, that Brooke and I've talked about, actually happen. Why do they occur? If we believe that we should share, we believe that we should share the research and open dialogues, challenging stereotypes and assumptions so that more women can talk about these things, but also talk about them with our counterparts who are men in the profession as well. We really need more women mentoring women. That's a difficult thing because I know we don't have a lot of extra time in a lot of situations. We all have a little bit more time right now, but, or I say that maybe you don't have any more time because you're doing kid stuff and work and all that, all that fun. But mentoring women is huge. It's, helping the younger generation to, help them through the challenges, help them navigate, listen to them about what they can provide in, in your maybe mindset of having to do it a certain way. We really honestly need that, but we also really need women mentoring men. That's the only way that men who are comfortable to learn, who want to initiate and affect the change, It's women talking to men and mentoring men can help them better understand the female colleague that they have and what the needs are, what maybe the unique needs are, the differences are for their female colleagues and female employees in certain situations. So another thing is, talking about men, how can men help women with that shift? Everybody needs the buy-in of the people in power, unless you're going to talk about a revolution, which we're not going to talk about that right now necessarily, but we need the buy-in of the people with the power in order to effectuate that change. And how can men help women with the shift in creating more diversion and inclusivity? Men need to be more self-aware. That's a big thing that, we hear about, and I could get off on a high horse and I won't, because Brooke will laugh at me, but, and be like, hey, time. But, anytime we say things like, it's locker room talk, or it's, oh, that's just the way boys are, that kind of thing, it's really not that's that cycle of men are supposed to be that way. And that's just as dangerous as the cycle of women are supposed to do this. So men can be more self-aware, realize what you're saying, realize the choices that you're making. You can be more intentional. We love the word intention and intentional, because it really makes it have a purpose. Whatever you're doing has a purpose to it. Excuse me. There's something about talking for a long time on Tuesdays that I always end up coughing. I'm pretty sure everybody thinks that I have COVID, but that's, it's just a cough. So being intentional is huge. Another thing that men can do is just do it. It's, you have the power in a lot of these situations. And, if we think that we have to ask for permission and we're trying to figure out how to not have to do that, or change our mindset to not have to ask for permission, you don't need the permission necessarily. So just do it. Just make the decision to be more self-aware, to be more intentional with your choices and your words and your actions. Just do it. And really, a big one is expand your circle. If you're only, again, kind of like what I said earlier, if you're a white male who's only talking to white males who play golf, like you play golf, then how in the world are you going to know anything about the white man who plays tennis, or the black man who plays golf even, or, whatever it might be. So expand your circle and talk to people that are not exactly like you, and maybe ask some more deep questions. I'm the person who will get into a long conversation. I had an Uber driver one time when I lived in Chicago that I swear we sat in the car for like an hour and a half after he was supposed to drop me off, talking about religion. So, because that's something that I love to do. I love having those deep conversations. If you don't like it, start off small, but expanding your circle is going to make you a more self-aware and honestly a better human in society.
I love that you sat in the car for an hour and a half with an Uber driver, and I wasn't even surprised that you just said that you did that. And lastly, we want to talk about, and just kind of reiterate, because we've already hit on it a few times, but, we are stronger together, women and men, all of us. But specifically, several years ago, for example, we saw women come together in the #DeleteUber movement. So speaking of Uber, I don't know if you all remember this, but 200,000 accounts were deleted during that time after a female engineer that worked for the rideshare service was sexually harassed in the workplace. And it was not a singular incident. It was culture, and it was persistent and pervasive throughout the organization. So, not only was she sexually propositioned, but her fellow mostly male colleagues were very complicit, very enabling of the illegal behavior happening to her. I think I'd seen it described as kind of a frat mentality, but that's what she was exposed to at work. So, she started all by herself. Just this one woman started this #DeleteUber movement, and it really obviously picked up steam. And by bringing this issue to light and creating that transparency of the institutionalized nature of it all, with the support of hundreds of thousands of women, and I'm sure men, Uber was actually forced to take the matter really seriously, to open an investigation, to actually change their policies, to make diversity a focal point after all this uprising and actual subsequent media backlash. And so you can make a difference. We can make a difference. We need to come together and support one another in these efforts. It's obviously not always an easy thing to do, but we do have power here, ladies, and we wanted to kind of bring that to the forefront of our conversation today to let you know that, even statistically, the statistics that we really do have power. There's power in numbers, and we really, like Laura said, we do need, the people that are empowered to support us. So whether we're having to, band together to, work within to rise, or whether we're having to, work up the chain at the same time, and start from there and go down. We really want to work both angles. So, we will be back next week, next Tuesday at 1 Eastern, 12 Central, 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific. We're going to continue our conversations about diversity and inclusion. We invite you guys to join us, to ask questions, to bring comments, to talk about concerns. This is a place where you can come and discuss those things. And so thank you for joining us today. We hope you have a great week, and we will see you all next week. Thanks. Bye.